Hello guys, back again, SK here. Today in this video we are going to create a virtual machine in the Azure Cloud Computing Platform. So what is a virtual machine? A virtual machine, also known as VM, is a compute resource that uses software instead of physical compute to execute programs and apps. So guys, without wasting your time, let's begin. So what you need to do is to log in into your Azure portal. In your Azure portal, look for the search box or use Create a Resource link located on the top left of the window. Click Create a Resource link. Notice that Create a Resource link window is now displayed. Notice that we have Virtual Machine displayed under Popular Azure Services. Click Create or use Search box. In the search box, type in Virtual Machine. Again, notice that as soon as you type in Virtual Machine, the link appears below the search box. Select the link to open, and this will take you to Create a Virtual Machine window, and then click Create. In the Create Virtual Machine window, fill in the project details. With Microsoft Azure, you cannot create a project without a subscription. If you are using a free trial, you are good to go. But if you do not have a free trial, you will need a debit card or a credit card to do this. Now select your subscription. And for me, I'll use Pay-As-You-Go SK. Once you've done that, move on to Resource Group. Select your resource group or create one. When you are done creating your resource group, move on to Instance Details. Give your virtual machine a name. For me, I'll use Finder VM as my virtual machine name. Next, move on to Region. Select your region from the drop-down menu. As for me, I'll use UK West. Why? Because it is the closest region to where I live. Next, move on to Availability Options. We have two options available: Scale Set and Availability Set. Let's leave this as default, with no infrastructure redundancy required, and move on to Security Type. For Security Type, select Standard. Standard Security Type will give us basic level of security for our virtual machines. Now move on to Image. What is an image? An image is also known as an operating system. In the drop-down menu, you can choose the image that you want. There is Ubuntu Server, Red Hat Enterprise, Oracle, Debian, CentOS, Windows 10 Pro, Windows Server 2022, 2019, and 2016. In this task, we are going to use Windows Server 2019 Data Center Generation 2. Select Windows Server 2019 and then move on to Size option. Again, in the drop-down menu, select your preferable choice. Notice that we have three options available: Standard DS1, Standard DS2, and DS4. Select your choice, and I will use DS1 version 2, 1 vCPU, 3.5 gig memory, which is gonna cost me £79 a month. Now let's move on to administrator account details. Fill in the details, the username and the password, and then confirm your password. Once you have done that, move on to Implant port roles. Please do not forget your login details, as you are going to need them to access your virtual machine. For the username, I'll use admin01. For the password, I will keep it to myself. And do not share your password. So what happens when you share your password? When you share your password with another person, you are essentially granting them access not only to your account but to every account that you own, and your account may become less secure. Inbound port roles. Leave as default or select Allow selected ports. Move on to Select Inbound ports. Notice that we have four options to choose from: HTTP using port 80, HTTPS using port 443, SSH using port 22, and RDP using port 3389. Select RTP and move on to licensing. The licensing, you can save up to 49% with Microsoft Azure, and that's if you already own Azure Hybrid license. Next, move on to disk options. Disk options, we have 3 options available to choose from: Premium SSD, Standard SSD, and Standard HDD. Premium SSD is best for production and performance-sensitive workloads. Standard SSD is best for light applications, and Standard HDD is best for backup, non-critical, and infrequent access. Select your choice, and I'll use Standard SSD. Check Delete with VM if you want to delete your virtual machine as well as deleting your disk. Leave encryption type as default and move on to networking. Notice that we have our virtual network created for us. We can leave as default and move on if we want to, but as for now we are going to create a new one. To create a new one, click Create New. Create Virtual Network window will be displayed with default settings. Now let's edit our virtual network. For name, I'll use standard VNet. Next, delete IP address or leave as default. For the address space, I will change it to 192.168.0.0 site annotation 22. With site annotation 22, this will give us 1024 IP addresses. Subnet details. Now let's give our subnet a name. Subnet name, I'll use standard subnet. Give your subnet a name. Address range, I'll use 192.168.0.0 site annotation 23. Site annotation 23 will give us 512 IP addresses to use, and 5 IP addresses will be used for private use, and that will leave us with 547 IP addresses to use. When you are done filling up your details, click OK to move on to the next section. Make sure you have selected Implant ports as RDP using port 3389. Next, move on to management. For management, leave as default. Notice that our subscription is protected by Azure Security Center Basic Plan. Now move on to advanced options. Nothing to change here, leave as default and move on to tags. Fill in your tag name and value. For me, I'll use standard VMS tag name. And standard VM01 as value tag. Select Review plus Create. Our virtual machine will go into validation state. Notice that validation has passed successfully. This virtual machine will cost us 0.1096 per hour, which is 7p per hour. My virtual machine is using pay-as-you-go SKS subscription. Resource group standard RG. Virtual machine standard VM. Region UK West. Size standard TS1 version 2. Using Implant port RDP. Select Create to create your virtual machine. When your deployment is complete, go to Resource. Notice that our deployment is completed. Now let's go to Resource. Congratulations guys, we have created our first virtual machine. Now let's review our virtual machine. My public IP address is 20.68.104.10. This IP address will help us to access our virtual machine. Bear in mind that your IP address will be different from mine. If you check under status, notice that our virtual machine is on the running state. My virtual machine computer name is standard VM. Operating system Windows. And then click Resource Group to open. Under Resource Group, select your resource group. Notice that we have created 6 resources. We have a virtual machine, public IP address, network security group, network interface card, disk, and virtual network. Select your virtual network link to open. Now let's go through our virtual network and see what we have created. We have address space of 192.168.0.0, site annotation 22, DNS servers provided by Azure Services, location UK West, subscription pay as you go. Under Virtual Network Overview, look for diagram link that can be found under Monitoring. When you have found it, click to open. Notice that we have a beautiful virtual network diagram. In the diagram, we have subnet, network interface card, virtual machine, network security group, also known as NSG, and public IP address. Now select your virtual machine to open. Let's see what we have on our virtual machine. My public IP address is 20.68.104.10. This will be different from yours. Operating system, Windows Server Data Center 2019, and security type standard. Now select connect to your virtual machine. Notice that we have three options to choose from: RDP, SSH, and Bastion. Select RDP to connect to your virtual machine. Notice that under RDP, we have two important things to connect to our virtual machine: public IP address and port number 3389. Next, click download RDP file. Notice that RDP file is being downloaded and is displayed on the top right hand of the window. When download is completed, click open to execute file. Remote desktop connection will pop up, and select connect to connect to your virtual machine. Connection might take seconds to minutes depending on your speed. Next, Windows Security will pop up. Now fill in your credentials, and when you are done, click OK to connect to your virtual machine. Congratulations, welcome to your first virtual machine. This might take some time to set up depending on your speed. Now select search box. In the search box, type in this PC. Then right click and look for properties. Select properties to open. Notice that basic information about our virtual machine has been displayed. Next, go to Start, then select Windows PowerShell. In Windows PowerShell, type in "Who am I?" in one word. Notice that we have a user and a machine name displayed. Now type config all. Notice that basic information about networking is displayed. Host name is Trainer-VM. Node type is hybrid. And we are using DHCP. That's it for now. Thank you for watching this video and following along. Have a lovely day and stay safe till next time.